There's a quiet crisis sitting in your staff roster right now. And if you're not looking closely, you will miss it entirely. Think about your building. We all have that one educator or administrator who is an absolute anchor. They do not cause drama, they don't storm into your office with a list of grievances, and they do not demand the spotlight. When they do speak up in a meeting, which frankly is rare, the entire room shifts. The room gets quiet. People lean in because everyone knows that whatever this person is about to say is grounded, intelligent, and deeply valuable. But because they are so steady, we make a dangerous administrative assumption. We assume that because they are quiet, they are content. We assume that because they are not complaining, they have everything they need. We treat their stability as a license to ignore them, while we spend 90% of our emotional energy managing either our loudest, most misguided staff members or putting out the daily operational fires that dominate the principalship. Let's be honest. If we only feed the squeaky wheels, the anchors eventually rust. And in education, when an anchor decides that they have had enough, they don't make a scene. They just quietly hand you a resignation letter in July because they found an organization that actually notices them. In today's episode, we are going to challenge the way we identify, amplify, and retain our highest valuable people before it's too late.
This is Your Morning Boost, recorded in the Forward Ed Network studios. A weekly spark for educators and school leaders ready to lead, teach, and live with greater intention. This is Your Morning Boost.
Welcome to Your Morning Boost, part of the Forward Ed Network. And if you're listening to us on your morning commute or working through the summer schedule adjustments, or maybe taking a moment to reflect in an empty building, thank you for sharing your time with us today. We're moving through late June, and for school leaders, this is a unique window of time. The halls are empty, the daily bell schedule isn't dictating your every move, and the immediate pressure of standard operations has lifted just enough to give us some perspective. It's a time when we look at our rosters and think about the team we are building for the upcoming school year. But it is also a time when we have to confront a harsh reality about school improvement and organizational culture. Leadership is not just about managing the people who demand your attention. It is about deliberately pursuing the people who don't. Today, we're deep diving into what I call the middle performer blind spot, and more specifically, how we intentionally tap the shoulders of our quiet leaders. We are going to look at why our traditional systems of communication and recognition fail the very people we can least afford to lose, and how we can shift our daily habits to ensure our best talent feels valued, utilized, and connected to the missions of our school. Now, let's start with an observation that every experienced administrator has lived through. I remember an assistant principal from early in my leadership career. And for today's episode, let's call her Sarah. Sarah was an exceptional leader. Her data analysis was consistently strong. Her operational execution, frankly, it was flawless. And her peers deeply respected her. But Sarah, she wasn't a self-promoter. In a 45-minute administrative meeting, it's very possible she wouldn't say a single word. Meanwhile, we had another colleague on the same leadership team who was easily the loudest voice in the room. This administrator was highly vocal, constantly sharing their opinions, but frankly, those opinions were frequently misguided and were also frequently disconnected from our actual school goals. Now, here's what's interesting. Because the loud colleague required so much management and course correction, we spent an immense amount of time in their orbit. We were constantly validating, redirecting, or even just reacting to them. And in doing so, we inadvertently created a dynamic where the loudest person defined the energy of our administrative team. While Sarah, an incredibly intelligent, capable leader, never felt confident in speaking up. Her input was not only important, it was desperately needed for our district to function effectively. But she sat in silence because the loud, misguided voices just sucked all the oxygen out of the room. Now, I'm sure we've all seen this. We create a system where visibility is equated with value. Think about that for a second. What does that do to the internal motivation of your highest value people? When a highly competent, ambitious leader or educator realizes that the only way to get the principal's time or attention is either to fail or complain, they make a conscious decision. They either downshift their effort to match the baseline or they will start looking for the exit door. This distortion happens because we fall into the trap of managing by exception. If 95% of our leadership team or teaching staff is operating smoothly, we ignore them. We want to focus entirely on the 5% that are causing friction. We convince ourselves that no news is good news and that our quiet professionals are perfectly fine on autopilot. But human beings do not run on autopilot. Even our most resilient, self directed professionals require feedback. They require connection and a clear sense that their contributions are seen. Right now, you likely have someone in your building who desires an administrative position or a major leadership role someday. They are not in a rush. They don't, maybe they want the right position. So they're not just applying randomly. Their current value to your organization is already way above their job description. They are running professional learning communities, mentoring new teachers, solving instructional or maybe even operational problems before those problems ever even reach our office. But because they do it so smoothly without drama or fanfare, it's easy for us to just say, thank goodness for them, and then move on to the next crisis. That is a critical retention error. At some point, we will lose them, and we'll do so if we don't find a deliberate way to keep them engaged, challenged, and recognized. We cannot just hope that they will stay because they love the school. I mean, hope is not a retention strategy. If we do not actively tap their shoulder, somebody else is going to do it for us.
For students wondering what comes next and how to get there, there's Next Step Scholar, a platform that helps learners explore careers, build direction, and take meaningful steps toward their future. Not overwhelming, just clearer paths forward. Next Step Scholar. Every future starts with a next step.
This segment is sponsored by Grunmeyer Leader Services. Since 2013, GLS has been a trusted partner for school districts across the Midwest, specializing in executive recruitment and leadership support. They believe that great schools start with great leaders, and they are here to help you find the perfect fit for your district. Transform your school's future with the right leader. Visit GrunmeyerLeaderSearch.com to learn more. Grunmeyer Leader Services, transforming education one leader at a time.
So, how do we shift from a reactive leadership posture to an intentional one? How do we fix the system so that our quiet, high value educators and administrators are amplified rather than ignored? It requires a fundamental shift in how we approach decision making and, frankly, organizational communication. We have to move away from open ended invitations to leadership and move towards direct, targeted engagement. Think about how you typically ask for leadership in schools. I know what I do. I send a mass email to my entire staff or the administrative group, and it'll say something like, we need someone to chair the school improvement committee. Or, if you're interested in leading this new instructional initiative, let me know by Friday. You know who responds to those emails. Usually it's the exact same people who always volunteer. Sometimes it's our top tier superstars who are already completely overwhelmed and on the verge of burnout. And sometimes it's the loud, sometimes misguided voices who love the title but lack the execution or the pure respect that's required to move our work forward. The quiet anchors, the ones who possess the exact wisdom, operational discipline, and stability that we need, rarely answer those open ended calls. They do not want to seem arrogant, or they assume that if you truly wanted their expertise, you would ask them directly. This is where the practice of shoulder tapping becomes a vital system for school improvement. Instead of putting out a general call and praying for the best, leadership requires us to be surgical. It means walking down the hall or scheduling a specific summer meeting with that quiet professional. Sit down with them and say, I'm putting this specific leadership team together for the upcoming year, and I need your voice on it. I need your analytical thinking. I value how you process big changes. Your peers trust your judgment. Will you do this with me? That single interaction, it changes everything. For a leader or an educator who wants to move up someday but maybe is hesitant to self-promote, that shoulder tap is the validation they need. It tells them that their work is not invisible. It tells them that you are paying attention to their actual impact, not just their volume in meetings. Let's look at the cultural implications of this approach. When you deliberately bring the quiet, highly respected staff members into the decision making loop, it fundamentally changes the dynamic of your entire building. We've all been in staff meetings where a new district initiative or building policy is introduced, and the vocal minority immediately starts poking holes in it. The energy in the room starts to tank, the momentum stalls before we even get started. But if you have already tapped the shoulder of your quiet anchors, if you've already walked them through the why behind the decision during the planning phases and secured their input, something incredible will happen. They do not have to give a massive speech to save the day. They just have to nod. They just have to say maybe one clear supportive sentence to their colleagues, something like, I looked over this data setup with the leadership team, and I think this is actually going to save us time on our weekly planning rotations. Because the rest of the staff deeply respects them, that one sentence carries more weight than a 20-slide presentation from the principal's office. The loud, misguided voices, they start to lose their leverage because the actual anchor of the building has just signal boosted the direction that we are moving. This summer, as you look at your master's schedule, your committee assignments, maybe your leadership team structures, I want to challenge you to conduct a relationship audit on your roster. Literally, print out your staff and leadership list and then sit down in your quiet office and look at every single name and ask yourself two questions. First, when was the last time I had a specific data driven conversation with this person about their value to our building? And second, what is their growth trajectory over the next 12 to 24 months? If you have a high performing leader or educator on your list and you cannot clearly answer those two questions, that person is currently sitting directly in your administrative blind spot. We need to create a system, whether it is a recurring monthly calendar invite or a structured check in during our building walkthroughs. Whatever it is, we need to do this to ensure that we are consistently pouring into the people who keep the building upright. We must protect our anchors from the weight of being taken for granted.
Strong schools don't just happen in classrooms, they happen in conversations. BrightPath Family Connect helps schools and families stay aligned with simple updates, reminders, and meaningful communication that actually gets seen. Because when families are informed, students are supported. BrightPath Family Connect. Better connection, better learning.
Are you ready to transform your school or classroom? Join hosts Adam and Jim on Control Shift Lead, the monthly podcast on the Forward Ed Network. Every episode, they bring in top educators from across the United States to deliver 3 game-changing insights: something you can control in your work, something that will shift your thinking, and something you can use to lead tomorrow. Don't just manage, lead. Subscribe to Control Shift Lead today.
As we wrap up today's conversation, let's bring this back to the specific season we are in. Late June, it's a time of transition. The pressure of the previous academic year is behind us, and the momentum of next school year just hasn't fully taken over yet. It's easy to use this time exclusively for paperwork or master schedules, budget spreadsheets, hiring modules. And all of those tasks are necessary, of course, but don't let the administrative logistics crowd out the human architecture of your school. The true strength of your school culture is not measured by your highest moments of inspiration or your most eloquent mission statements that we post on a wall. It is measured by how well we protect, develop, and sustain the steady, reliable professionals who show up every day and do the heavy lifting in silence. As you go through your week, take a hard look at your roster. Identify your Sarahs. Identify that assistant principal or teacher leader who has brilliant ideas, but is being drowned out by a louder colleague. Identify that aspiring administrator who is waiting for a clear sign that their extra effort and flawless execution are actually being noticed. Pick up the phone, send a text, or write a quick handwritten note. Tap their shoulder. Let them know that their presence matters and that their leadership is explicitly needed, and that they are a vital piece of where your school is going to go in the fall. Clarity in leadership means seeing your whole building clearly, especially the parts that run so smoothly they rarely make a sound. Thanks for being part of the work, and thank you for spending your time with us here on Your Morning Boost and the Forward Ed Network. We really appreciate everything you do for your students in your community. We will be back with you when we talk with you again next week.
That's your morning boost from AWB Education and Media. If this episode helped you reset your thinking or take your next step forward, share it with a colleague. And don't forget to subscribe so your next boost is ready when you need it. Keep showing up with intention. Keep moving forward, and we'll see you next time.